We're going to go a little out of order here. Is there any public comment at this time? Okay.
If there's anyone online who would like to make public comment, please feel free to raise your hand or put a request in the chat.
Okay. Hearing none, and we will change if that changes. Hearing none, let's kick it off with welcome and introductions. Good morning, everyone, to the May 8th Technical Coordinating Committee. Hannah, would you mind to take us around, or whomever?
Yes, I'll go through roll call first. Asheville, Lucy Crown.
Here.
Biltmore Forest, Harry Buckner.
Here.
Buncombe County, William High.
Good morning.
Buncombe Transit, Chloe Donahoe.
Here.
TPD, Daniel Sellers. Flat Rock, Pat Christie.
Here.
Fletcher, Eric Rufa.
Here.
Henderson County, Autumn Ratcliffe.
Here.
This is Daniel. I'm here.
Thanks, Daniel. Apple Country Transit, Jana Bianculli. Hello. Montreat, Savannah Parrish.
I'm here.
RPO, Vicky Eastland.
Hi.
DOT Division 13, Hannah Smith.
Here.
And Division 14, Steve Williams.
Morning, everyone.
All right.
We're good, unless you want me to go through other people online.
Looks like we actually have a hand raised from Cole. Perhaps a public comment?
Cole is who it counts.
Yeah, Cole, you should be moved over to panelist now, but feel free to speak up.
Yeah, sorry, I just talked, but I was just letting everyone know I'm here.
Thanks, Cole.
Hey, this is
Okay.
Michael Malachek with Mills River. I was not called. Just wanted to let you know I'm here as well.
My bad, Mike.
All right. Is there anyone else? Anybody in the room want to introduce themselves?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Ada McGovern, Safe Routes to School. Sadie Broadwell, Transportation Demand Management. Hannah Bagley, French Broad River MPO.
Daisy O'Connor, French Broad River MPO.
Jana Bianculli, Henderson County.
Tristan Winkler, French Broad River MPO.
Vicky Eastland, Lemscow, RPO.
Olin Dalehausen, Senior Project Manager with Pond & Company.
Would you like to Christina?
Christina Harris, City of Asheville.
That's it.
All right, great. Well, thank you all.
Are we just
with
doing
that,
introductions? Matthew Manley, City of Hendersonville.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. With that, why don't we move on to the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda? If anyone has any questions or comments, please provide them. Otherwise, we will entertain a motion to approve.
This is Steve Williams. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have a second?
This is Vicky, I'll second.
Thank you, Vicky. Hannah, would you do the honors for us?
Yes. Asheville, Lucy Crown.
Aye.
Biltmore Forest, Harry Buckner.
Aye.
Buncombe County, William High.
Approve?
Buncombe Transit, Chloe Donahoe.
Approve.
CPD Daniel Sellers,
Approved.
Flat Rock Pat Christie,
Approve.
Fletcher Eric Rufa,
Aye.
Haywood Transit Cole Sutton,
Aye.
Henderson County Autumn Radcliffe,
Aye.
Apple Country Transit Jana Bianculli. Aye. Hendersonville Matt Manley,
Aye.
Mills River Mike Malachek,
Approve.
On Treat Savannah Parish,
Approve.
RPO Vicky Eastland,
Aye.
DOT Division 13 Hannah Smith,
Aye.
and Division 14 Steve Williams.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, with that, we will move on to our first business item from the MPO staff.
Sure. So this is an item that's a little bit different from what we normally deal with, but there's been some conversations with the town of Mills River that have kind of made this bubble up. Just as some background, the project R2588B, that is a planned widening of NC 191 between NC 280 and Mountain Road in Henderson County. That project has been funded and committed since 2014. And when it was initially funded and scoped, it was scoped as a 4-lane divided highway, changing it from a 2-lane to a 4-lane divided. In 2016, as a result of concerns from the public, the town of Mills River voted to request NCDOT to remove the median from the section of the project in the town of Mills River. NCDOT agreed to that request. And so what has been moving forward with this project for a number of years is a 4-lane divided highway in unincorporated Henderson County and a 5-lane road in the town of Mills River. However, with this project and the release of the draft STIP, the project was delayed by 2 years in construction. And so something that has, I think very much relates to the safety targets that we've talked about over the last few months. One of the big questions that came up as we were discussing safety targets is, how do we really make an impact on reducing crashes? From staff's point of view, medians or divided highways are considered a proven safety countermeasure that help to reduce crashes, especially on multi-lane arterials. In talking with Mills River and some of the turnover with council that they've seen, what we've been discussing is that as a proven safety countermeasure, FHWA studies show that having a median through multi-lane cross-sections reduces fatal and severe crashes by 25 to 31%. Conversely, there's a study that shows that having a median removed from a multi-lane highway increases crashes by 45%. And so, I think from staff's point of view, in discussions with Mills River and NCDOT, we think that doing the project in a way that is not going to cause additional safety concerns down the line is something that will help us to better achieve our safety targets. Also, I will note that what's moving forward right now, and Steve, please correct me if I'm wrong, is a 5-lane cross-section for the roughly 1.25 mile through the town of Mills River. But it's a 5-lane cross-section with the width built in to retrofit the corridor with a median. So there is additional width beyond some of our other 5 lanes. I think with the foresight that a median is essentially going to be needed at some point in the future when crashes increase. Again, in coordination with the town of Mills River, something that they have requested that we at least consider is having a resolution to NCDOT to request them to re-add the median to the project in the section through the town of Mills River. I'll note, it's my understanding that town council plans to have their initial discussion on this tonight. And so we may be following back up on how that discussion goes. But at this point, we would like to get the TCC's feedback on a potential resolution to go to the board to request that as this project continues to move forward in design, that NCDOT adds back that median in the 1.25 mile section through the town of Mills River. Any questions, comments?
Jason, I'm not trying to respond, this is a question. At the public hearing, was there alternative maps presented? Was there one with a median and one without?
I think there was, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like there was one public meeting where it was a 4-lane divided throughout the entire corridor, and then there's a follow-up where the median was removed. Is that correct?
That is correct. The initial public meeting had a divided 4-lane.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was gonna impact, I mean, I'm all for the median. Preface my comment with that. I just not sure it's going to impact NCDOT's processes with public input. So that's something we should probably, I mean, I support it. I think we should do the resolution. It's delayed, so there's probably time to address it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thinking with it being delayed by 2 years in the draft SIP is there should be time for additional conversation. In our preliminary discussion with NCDOT in the town, DOT said that there would likely be very little additional impact to properties. Again, since they are providing the width to retrofit with a median later. But obviously, a lot of the concerns that were heard were both about people's ability to make left turns into and out of different roads and driveways, and also farm equipment vehicles' ability to navigate a divided highway, as there are a number of, and so my hope would be that with 2 years before, or with an additional 2 years, there would be enough time for additional community conversation, hopefully highlighting that, the safety benefits of a median, and working in discussion and whatever's needed to make sure that the farm equipment that uses that road would be able to get the access that they need and make the movements that they need to make.
All right. Are there any further questions? Okay. Do we have a recommendation from someone to send this resolution of support to the board?
Hey, Williams, Mike from Mills River. I'll move to approve it.
Thank you, Mike. Perfect person. Anyone else for a second?
This is Lucy also.
Thank you, Lucy and Vicky. I'll let whoever's taking notes decide who seconded. All right, Hannah, would you take us around, please?
Asheville, Lucy Crum.
Aye.
Fillmore Forest, Terry Buckner.
Aye.
Buncombe County, William High.
Approve.
Buncombe Transit, Chloe Donahoe.
Approve.
TPD, Daniel Sellers.
Approved.
Flat Rock, Pat Christie.
Approve.
Fletcher, Eric Russa.
Aye.
Haywood Transit, Cole Sutton.
Aye.
Henderson County, Autumn Radcliffe.
Aye.
Apple Country Transit, Janet Bianculli. Aye. Hendersonville, Matt Manley.
Approved.
Maggie Valley, Sam Cullen.
Aye.
Mills River, Mike Malachek.
Approve.
One Street, Savannah Parish.
Approve.
RPO, Vicky Eastland.
Aye.
DOT Division 13, Ham Smith.
Aye.
And Division 14, Steve Williams.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you all. All right, let's take it off to the next item, the Citizens Advisory Committee dissolution, proposed dissolution.
All right, and with that, Stacy, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, if you'll just give me a second to share my screen here. All right, so this is just a quick update on the status of the Citizens Advisory Committee, and to ask your guidance on the future of the Citizens Advisory Committee. From the bylaws for the Citizen Advisory Committee, or CAC, they are to serve for an advisory board to the MPO, TCC, and board. They're also to provide, excuse me one thing, independent, region-oriented citizen advice to the TCC and board on issues related to the development of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, Unified Planning Work Program, Transportation Improvement Program, and any other processes or planning efforts that require considerable public involvement. They are to promote public awareness and participation in the regional transportation planning process, and also to promote equity in the regional transportation planning process and make recommendations to enhance French FBRMPO's public involvement policies and techniques. The CAC is made up, per the bylaws, of up to 18 members appointed directly by the MPO board. At this time, we currently have 5 members that have been recently active with the committee since 2024 due to resignations and lack of attendance. Just an overview of what that attendance has looked like from 2024 until now. Obviously, in October 2024, we had to cancel as a result of Helene. In January, we had 3 members attend the regularly scheduled meeting, and in April, we had 1 member in attendance. Attendance requirements are that each member is to serve a 2-year term. They can be reappointed to an unlimited number of terms. But if a member is absent for 4 consecutive meetings, they become inactive and their membership status will automatically be reviewed by the CAC. So out of those 5 members that have been recently active, we have 3 that are considered inactive by the bylaws due to lack of attendance at meetings. And in looking at our attendance over the last 4 CAC meetings, that attendance has ranged from 0 to 3 individuals with a mean attendance of 1.5 people. So our recommendations at this time are that you make a recommendation to the MPO board to proceed with dissolution of the Citizen Advisory Committee. And then in lieu of the Citizen Advisory Committee, look for strategies that will facilitate direct involvement by citizens in the MPO slate of meetings, such as the prioritization subcommittee, the TCC, and the MPO board, and alternatively consider appointing citizens directly to existing committees such as prioritization. So at this time, I'll answer any questions that y'all have.
Well, it sounds like it's not worth the amount of staff time it takes to prepare these meetings and keep up with attendance and such to 3 people.
Yeah, I mean, I'll also note that besides just the inactive membership, the total membership has fallen considerably over the last several years. I think we had around 15 members before the pandemic. I think there was quite a bit of turnover as a result of the pandemic, an addition of people, but I think the thing that's been consistent since 2020 is a lack of attendance and diminishing membership. And I think from a staff perspective, it just seems like, you know, I think that citizen engagement is very, very important. I think some of the things that have been going on over the past few months, I think highlight the need for that. But I don't think that this venue has been especially effective in that regard. Thank you. Lucy, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I was curious to know, how long have we had this committee?
We have had this committee since before my time, so before 2014. I mean, it has been, I will say it had a very good track record, at least from 2014 to 2020. I joke, but I actually think it's correct that it seems like the more people who got angry at projects, the more membership we got and the more robust conversations we had.
It's still in the gap a little bit. It formed in late 2012, early 13, with the adoption of the MTP that was being developed at that time.
So yeah, I mean it's been around for a long time, but yeah, I mean as noted, we think that there's going to be more effective ways, hopefully, to engage with residents in the region.
I'll make a motion to recommend dissolution of the Citizen Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
This is Steve. I'll second.
Thank you, Steve. All right, Hannah, would you mind?
Asheville, Lucy Crown.
Yes.
Biltmore Forest, Harry Buckner.
Aye.
Buncombe County, William High.
Approve.
Buncombe Transit, Chloe Donahoe.
Approve.
TPD, Daniel Sellers.
Aye.
Flat Rock, Pat Christie. Fletcher, Eric Rufa.
Aye.
Haywood Transit, Cole Sutton.
Aye.
Henderson County, Autumn Ratcliffe.
Aye.
Apple Country Transit, Janet Bianculli. Aye. Hendersonville, Matt Manley.
Approve.
Maggie Valley, Sam Cullen.
Aye.
Mills River, Mike Malachek.
Approve.
On Treat, Savannah Parish.
Approve.
RPO, Vicky Eastland.
Aye.
DOT Division 13, Hannah Smith.
Aye.
And Division 14, Steve Williams.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you very much. So good news is that does it for our voting items. So let's move on to our informational items. Staff, I don't know if y'all want to kick this one off on McAdams' behalf.
Sure. One of the ongoing efforts at the MPO is updating the MTP. That is a federally required document that needs to be updated every 5 years. Ours is due in September of this year. So just as a reminder, we did bring on McAdams to help lead the update of the MTP. There's been a lot of work that's been going on. I actually want to take this opportunity to thank Daisy for all the work on social media engagement and getting the word out. So, you know, we had one meeting with only 2 people, but 2 other meetings had many more than 2 people. And so I want to thank Daisy for helping get the word out, as well as our local governments for helping to boost the word on some of those meetings. But with that, we did want to share an update with you all today, just to, especially get your eyes on some of the things that are being considered now and being discussed at the prioritization subcommittees. And so with that, Joel, please take it away. Joel, we can't hear you.
Still can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
You are unmuted, so I don't know what it is.
You'll check your audio and see which microphone you have selected.
Did that make a difference?
Yes.
There we go.
Okay,
Yeah.
good deal. I guess it was the microphone I had selected. Sorry about that. Thanks, Vicky.
Don't worry.
Okay, so let me start over then. I apologize for that. So thank y'all again for letting me be here today. Thanks, Tristan. And as Tristan mentioned, we did do 3 public meetings last month. Got some good feedback from the public on those and had good turnout at 2 of those meetings, as Tristan mentioned. So we were really pleased to get folks out to those meetings and to get some feedback on the projects that we presented at those meetings. And to get feedback as well on the tools that we were using to get information out. We got a lot of good feedback on that also, and I'll show you some of that today. I do have a list of items that I'll go over briefly with you today that we've been working on, but I think the main item that we really wanted to talk to you about today is the draft project list. And we really want you all to provide some input on this draft project list if you can, and when you can. So I will share my screen here for a moment. Hopefully I can get this right. So hopefully you can see the Maptionaire link here. And that link should also be in your agenda. But I think this is the first time you all have seen this. This Maptionaire link provides you and whoever goes to it the opportunity to look at all of the projects that are being considered and being included in the MTP and or the CTP for the French Broad River MPO region. And the link here for Maptionaire allows anyone to provide input on those projects. So you can see the screen here. All you have to do is click on this arrow here at the bottom of the screen, and all of the projects in the region should pop up. There's over 500 projects shown here, and it may not look like that here on the surface, but obviously some of these projects are segmented projects. But you click on a project, and it'll pop up on the screen. It'll give you the ID, the roadway name, what type of project it is. It'll show you how the project is scoring in our prioritization ranking system. And then what it does, it gives you the option to tell how much support you have for this project. So you can use this slide bar here and say, you don't support this project at all, or you strongly support this project. And then you can provide more feedback here about why you feel that way, or any additional feelings that you have on the project. You can do that for as many projects as you want, or as few projects as you want, but it gives you the option to click on, again, any project that's listed, any project that's under consideration, and provide feedback on those projects. Then when you click the arrow here at the bottom of the screen, it takes you to the third screen. And what the third screen allows you to do is to provide any additional comments or ideas about any existing projects, or any additional comments or ideas about the planning process or about the MTP as a whole. It's kind of a catch-all for anything that you want to add about the process or about projects. And additionally, you can click on this project idea button, and got something that you didn't see here, a project that you want us to consider or that you want to be included, you can click here and add a project idea and describe your project here. So we've got, as I mentioned, we've got over 500 projects in the system. But if there's something additional that you think we've missed, you're more than welcome to add that project here and provide that information for us. Once you've done that, again, you just click the arrow here at the bottom, and then it provides you the opportunity to provide us with some demographic information. You know, what zip code do you live in? Additional demographic information. And then we've got this steering committee question down here for the prioritization subcommittee, for them to click that. But then you just click submit, and that's all it takes. That information comes back to us for us to analyze the feedback we're getting on those projects. We used this at the public meetings last month. We got really good feedback on it. I think it's been a useful tool to this point for us to get the information we need on how important these projects are within the region and what the priorities are to the public. And hopefully it'll be a tool for you all also to use to provide us your feedback for some of these projects. I will mention, without going into a great deal of detail today, and I'm going to switch my screens here. That screens for you all?
Yes.
Okay, good. I will mention, I think in your updated agenda packet, you will see here the list of prioritized projects. That is the draft list, which we have started working on. And we presented this to the prioritization subcommittee yesterday for the first time. So they had a chance to review this. Since it is in your agenda packet, you know, if you see this and you have any projects that you want to provide additional feedback on that you see as priorities and you think, you know, that they need to be high priorities in the fiscally constrained portion of the plan, feel free to let us know that also. Again, this part is kind of a work in progress right now. We've asked the prioritization subcommittee to provide us with feedback on this list at this point. But what you'll see in your agenda is that these are broken out by horizon years. So we've grouped them from 36 to 45 and then from 45 to 50 for those horizon years. Anything that is currently in the draft STIP is not shown here, but those projects will fall into the horizon years of fiscal year 26 to 35 within the MTP, and those will be included that way. But I just wanted to make you aware of this. We'll bring this back to you again after the prioritization subcommittee has a little bit more time to sort through that. But just wanted to make you aware of it since it's in your agenda packet. Again, if you see anything on there that particularly piques your interest, feel free to send us an email, send Tristan an email and let us know your feelings on those. And going back to the grand list of projects, if there's anything, again, on there that you really feel passionate about, we really do want that feedback. And what we asked of the prioritization subcommittee was to try to get that feedback to us by the end of next week. So if we could get that same timeline for you all, that would be great. If you could provide us any feedback on any projects that you have by the end of next week, I think that would be extremely helpful for us. Working through our kind of timeline right now moving forward, we do have another set of public meetings coming up, and that's also included here in your agenda. We're shooting for July for those meetings right now, and those meetings will actually include the fiscally constrained project list that you see here in draft form. We'll be presenting that to the public at those meetings in July, and it'll also include the draft plan at that point. So what we've got scheduled right now, Monday, July 7th, from 4 to 8 in Asheville at the Dr. Wesley Grant Senior Southside Center, Tuesday, July 8th from 4 to 8 at the Mills River Town Hall in Mills River. And then we tentatively have Waynesville set up for Wednesday, July 9th from 4 to 8. We talked with them again yesterday. We're just waiting for full confirmation on that one. But we're working through that one also to get it set up. And again, at those meetings, we should have a fully fiscally constrained project list and a draft plan to present to the public at those meetings. So we're looking forward to those. And then additionally, I think the last thing, just keep in mind that with these fiscally constrained plans, or with the fiscally constrained projects, obviously these are limited to a certain number of projects. So we're trying to make it fit within the funding that we have available. So we do have a funding table there for you to review. Again, we'll come back to you and provide you additional information about this when we meet with you again. But that is there summarized for you. Any projects that we can't make fit in the fiscally constrained portion of the plan, obviously, will stay within the full document, but they will be included as CTP projects at the end of the plan. So they will be comprehensive transportation plan projects. So they won't disappear, but they will not be in the fiscally constrained portion of the plan. They'll be in the comprehensive transportation plan. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Again, we're moving along quickly now. We're working with the MPO on a lot of these projects to make sure we've got cost estimates correct, and to make sure that we have the priorities the way that we need to have them based on what you all want to see and what you all are really know as the needs in the area. So it's an evolving process, but we're making good progress right now. And we greatly appreciate the help of the MPO and the MPO staff. And again, please take the time to look through Maptionaire, take the time to provide us any feedback that you all have on projects. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you.
Great, thank you, Joel. And we'll send out a follow-up to folks to make sure you have what you need to provide comments.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Joel. With that, we'll kick it off to Ada and Safe Routes to School.
Thanks everyone for having a good afternoon with us here at the Atlantic Sky Regional Council. I'm just going to real quick do an update on our Safe Routes to School program. First off, I'm Ada McGovern. Many of you have seen me at these meetings the past year and a half and wondered who is the strange person here. So I am not a traditional planner. I actually have worked the past 10 years of my career in public health. And along the years, I gradually started working more with planners. And so when this position opened up back in 2022, I thought it was a really good fit for my experience and my interests. So, yeah, so next slide. Safe Routes to School. Maybe next slide. Okay. Safe Routes to School is an initiative that started federally in 2005. It was a standalone program in all 50 states in 2005. Since then, it's gone through a couple different shifts, and now the funding comes from TAP funding. So my program is to the state and then down to regional level. Since then, the mission of Safe Routes to School has largely stayed the same, encouraging active transportation in and through schools. In North Carolina, we have 22 Safe Routes to School coordinators. I am the only one west of Polk County. Yeah, and if you'll see safe systems approach, I hope you're familiar with that from some of the stuff we've presented here. We really focus on the safe people part of safe systems approach. Next. So much of our local program at Land to Sky mirrors the state and the national priorities, but there are a few unique things with Land to Sky. Something that we all talk about all the time is rurality, our unique landscape, what that looks like for our region. And that also hinders the feasibility of focusing solely on walking or biking to and from school. That's why regionally we really have kind of broadened that out to be more active living encouragement to meet folks where they are. We started this program really focusing on getting our name out there, finding mobilizers in different communities. We also focused on developing foundational projects, getting a few community-facing events out there. Now we're a year and a half in and have gotten our feet wet, and we're including more strategy. So you'll see I've mentioned there, MPO staff and TCC are part of that strategizing because y'all are the bigger plans for infrastructure for the region. Next slide. So much of my program includes the 5 counties of the Land to Sky region in both urban and rural areas. Since there are 100 public schools, 100 plus public schools, those are just public, in the area, it was kind of overwhelming when I first started. So I developed a Safe Routes to School committee to help to hold me accountable for sharing my resources throughout all the areas that we're in. This committee is made up of school staff, school leaders in the district, nonprofit leaders, MPO, RPO, some superstar teachers. We currently have 11 active members in that committee. One of the first tasks of that committee was to select pilot schools so that I could help focus in on a more focused lens for those different counties. That didn't eliminate by any means helping any school that reached out to me. This just really helped us to set a target for each county. So you'll see up here each of the 7 current pilot schools for the region. Next. Why are we here? Why is this program even developed? I want to take a second to highlight the core reason for this work. Active transportation is a healthy habit that we want to encourage in kids and everyone. And these 4 topics are the main benefits that I try to highlight in a lot of our events. So for physical health, only 1 in 4 grade school students receive the CDC recommended 60 minutes of physical activity daily. 1 in 4. Let that sit in for a second. Okay, and I think it's also really important in this work that we're not equating that with sports. This is not just sports, this is like your lifestyle physically. So next topic, academics. You always love when I get to this part. Movement helps students wake up their brain, and doing it before school can really help students center their thoughts before they're arriving at school. Safety. This is something we talk a lot about here. When we're using our infrastructure for people-centered transportation, we're advocating for those improvements. We also notice more about our space when we're moving at a slower pace. So the more people that are out there using it, the more research you have for needing these things. Socially, on the topic of moving at a slower pace, socially this can help out. You'll start to notice more things in your community, like maybe a lady and her beagle walking down the street every day, kind of feeling more connected to people at a slower pace in your community. Okay. So for the next couple slides, I'm going to do my very best to not put you asleep. So I've done a lot in the last year and a half, and I'm very proud of the work I've done. But I am not going to tell you everything that we've done in the past year and a half. So there is a model that Safe Routes to School puts out at a national scale that is called the 6 E's. And I'm going to go through what those 6 E's are and highlight some of my work from the past year and a half on those topics. So the first E is education, using active living as a connection to education to learn about history or unity, or providing an opportunity for kids or students to learn about how to navigate a bike, how to repair a bike, how to ride a bike. Also making sure that I'm linked in as the professional in the region on trainings, conferences, summits, research, all the MPO meetings. That's kind of the main highlights for education, the last bit. Equity. I know, scary word right now, but this is really something I've used to help prioritize opportunities and when we do them. So holding an event during a school hours can help to reach more kids rather than holding an event before school, where kids that are maybe not, their parents aren't able to get them to a spot, or they don't have the resources to own a bike. So really prioritizing these opportunities during school hours, going to schools that are maybe not the loudest schools. The ones that are not reaching out are sometimes the ones that need the information more. Using Title I events as an opportunity. Title I events, if you don't know, it's a school-based thing that happens every quarter, and it's basically a fun night with some kind of educational message that has free food. So a lot of folks will show up to those events for the free food, but also we can incorporate maybe a bike bus or have a bike park there. Engineering, let's address the asterisks in the room. I am not an engineering professional. This program does not include engineering in it. It is non-infrastructure program, but it is also something really important to consider with Safe Routes to School. So I've kind of found ways to link that in with the MPO and what they're doing, which helps that I'm like in the office with the MPO. But some examples of that are leading walk audits at various schools, volunteering for walk audits that are already happening, offering stipends for volunteers that helped clean up the campuses after Helene recovery, really kind of finding ways to link into that infrastructure that we have. Next. The last 3 E's, engagement, safe kids, Safe Streets for Western North Carolina, Parks and Rec, school boards, PTOs, PE programs, nonprofits, health departments, back to school events, community festivals, you name it, like that's the way that we've been able to engage in the community. So using those already existing programs and linking in with them to collaborate and help get the word out there. Encouraging, giving the tools for successful organizations for biker walk to school days. This past round, which was Wednesday, we had 3 new schools. It's estimated that was around 130 students that participated in those new events. So really supporting those days, and then helping out with programs that already exist, like bike rodeos, bike fleets, bike buses, travel training, student clubs, things like that. And then evaluation, baseline assessments at those pilot schools that we did to determine kind of where they are right now and where they want to focus that energy. And then revisiting the program as a whole every quarter with those quarterly meetings. And then also checking in with other Safe Routes to School programs that are further along in their process across the state. So there are some challenges that have come up along the way. Some of these are predictable, but the name itself is not comprehensive in the work that we cover. So when I go to a rural school with narrow, curvy roads right by the school, and I say I'm Safe Routes to School, it's so easy to zone out and be like, this is not for us. So really finding a way to get through the challenge of the literal name of the program has been a lesson learned. Also the school year schedule. So Helene is probably the most quoted as the biggest challenge for everyone from the last couple of years and will be for the last couple of years. So we are no exception to that. The school year started with a lot of momentum in August, and then it was kind of hijacked by a natural disaster a month later. So that has been a really big task to overcome. And then before the schools even had Helene, they were already overwhelmed with limited staffing, turnover, busy schedules. So it required me to think creatively and out of the box with my programming. Obviously, all programming takes a couple of years to hit the ground running. I do think that this last bullet is becoming less of a challenge as we get out there. This is something that you can help, though, with as local leaders, spreading the word. Okay? So my committee met in February at our last quarterly meeting to revisit the goals that we had from before and reflect on where we want to move forward. These are the areas that I will be focusing on in the next year, foreseeable future. And my biggest call to action for everyone in this room is to stay engaged. So follow the program on Instagram, read the Transportation Matters newsletter, keep in the loop, show up to events that are happening in your counties. And last but not least, on that note, there's a QR code, and I know you love when QR codes pop up, but some people are already on their phones, so here's your opportunity to scan this QR code and follow us on Instagram. That's the best way to find out what events are happening locally. We'll share MPO events that are happening. We'll share other organizations events that are happening, and this is how you'll know what's going on in your community. So that's all I have for you all today. Thank you for being an active participant in this presentation, and I look forward to continuing to work here.
Thank you very much, Ada. Does anyone have any questions for her?
And worth noting about funding, I have third-year funding granted, but I will need a match in the future.
Okay. Well,
Lucy, have your hand raised?
Yeah, I just have a question about your walk audits. When you do that, do you coordinate with the jurisdiction so that there's a pathway to get any recommendations done in their CIP?
Yeah, so thus far, the walk audits have been mostly school driven. So a lot of that has been folks from the school wanting to do one. I'll help them kind of run the audit and then put it into a report. And then with that report, they'll get principal feedback. And then like Hendersonville Middle School is going to use it to go to town council and talk about what they'd like to see. But I have yet to do one that like has local leadership at the actual audit. So that'd be great to do.
great. Anyone else? All right. Well, Ada, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. And for our last informational item, we will kick it off to Sandy and Strive Not to Drive update.
All right. Hey everyone, I'm Sandy Broadwell. I am the new Transportation Demand Management Coordinator for Land of Sky Regional Council. Like Ada, my position is funded by NCDOT with a 50% match from the MPO. I have been in transportation demand management field for 10 years now at the City of Missoula and the University of Kentucky previously. But I'm new to Western North Carolina and excited to bring my TDM knowledge here. So TDM, at least in this context, is not travel demand model. It is transportation demand management, and basically TDM has the goal of improving mobility by reducing congestion and lowering vehicle emissions. Anything basically that reduces these single occupancy vehicles. And any sort of programs, incentives, subsidies that can support those sorts of efforts. So Strive Not to Drive is one of the legacy TDM programs in Western North Carolina. It was started by advocates back in the 1980s and has gone through many changes since then, and has struggled a little bit post-pandemic, and with some staff changes here at the MPO. So it's been a little bumpy for a couple years, but this year is coming back bigger and better than ever, hopefully. So the goal of Strive Not to Drive Week is to foster long-term behavior change and help people move around our region and encouraging the use of sustainable transportation and hopefully promote safer, more connected communities along the way. So I just have the picture of the flyer up there. Hopefully you've seen it around in your communities, because we've tried to put it up a lot of different places. We have a lot of different partners this year. Everybody's logo on the screen is directly involved with Strive Not to Drive Week this year, whether they're planning an event or providing prizes or just sharing the information and helping the marketing or being on the planning committee. So really grateful to all these organizations for helping me pull together a really great Strive Not to Drive Week, which is coming up next week. So the events kick off May 16th and run through May 24th, and I have them split up by our different counties. I do serve all 5 counties that Ada mentioned in her presentation. Only 3 of the counties are participating officially in Strive Not to Drive Week this year, so my big goal for next year is to get all 5 counties on board. But I just want to draw your attention to a few events that might be of interest to MPO members. We have a free transit day in Asheville coming up on Monday. We have events to train people how to use the bus service. On Tuesday, May 20th, there's an event for the Gibbons-Gerber community, but all of our Asheville City Council members have been invited to attend as well. And that's going to be just a pretty simple event where we take people who live at the Gibbons-Gerber community onto the bus, show them how it works, take them to a destination. They're going to have some pizza and then take them back to their home facility. So it's not like a special charter or anything. It's just using the public transit that's already available where they live. We're also doing several walk and bike audit training sessions throughout the week. The one in Buncombe County is on Tuesday, May 20th at the West Asheville Library, and the following morning on Wednesday, May 21st, we are doing a walk audit of Lucy Herring Elementary School. We also have 2 specific employer-focused programs. One for the Art Passport program on Wednesday, May 21st. That program is a way for employers to provide fare-free transportation for their employees by paying half the cost of every ride their employee takes. And then on Friday, May 23rd, we have the Bicycle-Friendly Business Breakdown event where we will teach employers how to apply to be a bicycle-friendly business in the future. So those are kind of the highlights for Buncombe County. I really want to give a huge shout out to Haywood County. This is the biggest Strive Not to Drive Week event that they've ever had. All week they're providing free transit through their Haywood County Public Transit Service. They're also doing a kids bike drive. All week people can drop off bikes for kids who they're trying to target kids that maybe lost their bikes during Hurricane Helene. And I think that's going really well. They've got a lot of stuff up about that in Waynesville. And then on Friday, May 23rd, they're doing a Bikes, Buses, and Brews social ride at Frog Level Brewing. They're also going to have the bus there. They're going to teach people how to use the bus and load their bike on the bus and all of that good stuff. Waynesville City Council also adopted a Strive Not to Drive ceremonial resolution at their last City Council meeting on April 22nd. And the City of Asheville is doing the same at their next City Council meeting on May 13th. And then I just have a photo up here of some of their Strive Not to Drive outreach efforts. Haywood County actually filmed a commercial for their public transit service inspired by Strive Not to Drive Week. So they got Mr. Moon from the Asheville Tourist and Puller Pete and the Waynesville mayor and some other folks there involved. The commercial hasn't been edited together yet, but I'm hoping that by next week at the MPO meeting, we can actually show the commercial up on the screen. So stay tuned for that. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And then finally, Henderson County is our last county that's doing Strive Not to Drive Week this year. They're also doing free transit all week because Henderson County's transit is always free. But they have a downtown dollars promotion going on all week. If you bike, walk, or bus to local businesses that participate in the downtown dollars program, you can win downtown dollars. There's also events like bike rides going on. There's how to use the bus at the Hendersonville Farmers Market on Saturday, more walk audits, lots of really good stuff going on there. And then for all people who participate in any Strive Not to Drive event, each event attended is essentially an entry to win a prize. And additionally, there's a commuter challenge going on for the entire week where people can create an account on sharetherident.org and log up to 2 trips per day if they use a sustainable mode of transportation like biking, walking, riding the bus, or carpooling. Each trip that they log is another chance to win a prize. And the prizes that we've got this year, we have 20 tickets to the actual tourist, which we're going to give away as 5 groups of 4 tickets. We have 3 monthly bus passes for art, and Liberty Bikes has also donated a basket of safety gear. So that's the summary of Strive Not to Drive this year. You can see all of the details for all of everything I just mentioned on strivebeyond.org. Like I said, it kicks off next Friday, May 16th, and if you would like to contact me to talk about how you can be more involved in Strive Not to Drive next year or helping us promote it this year, please feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Sandy. Does anybody have any questions?
I'll just point out and give a thanks to Sandy. You know, Sandy came into this role not even 5 months ago, and I think to take Strive, Strive Not to Drive from where it was to, I think the most events that Henderson County's ever done, I think the most events that Haywood County's ever done. Just great work, really well done. And thank you to all the partners who are helping to make this what looks like to be a really, really great event.
Yeah. Big shout out to Alex Mumby and Haywood County for really pulling the weight for Haywood County this year. Most Henderson County and Buncombe County are huge group efforts, but Haywood County is a lot of Alex Mumby. So.
Awesome. No one has any questions. We'll move on to our regular updates. Decision 13, Hannah.
Yes, I'm here. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
So we've got a lot of active construction. I'm going to kind of highlight our interstate work, and then I'll take any questions about others that anyone might have. So wanted to touch on the I-40 rehab between mile marker 45 and 50. We do have one more weekend closure scheduled for this weekend to finish up the bridge deck overlay work. And then beyond that, all work will transition to nightly lane closures to complete the paving operations this season. So we're in the short rows for the I-40 rehab, but keep that in mind if you are traversing that area this weekend. To touch on I-2513 AA and AB, that's I-40 from I-26 to Smoky Park, and then the interchange improvements at Smoky Park. It's been mostly clearing and grubbing operations since the middle of March. We do have an upcoming eastbound traffic shift scheduled for tomorrow. I think I just saw a press release come out about it, and I think Vicky and Tristan have already forwarded it out to their TCC and TAC, but essentially that will reduce the eastbound stretch to 3 through lanes, and then a westbound switch will follow in a couple of weeks. Wanted to touch on Haywood Road project between Patton Ave and Ridgelawn Road. We have awarded that. We've had a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. They are anticipating starting all of the concrete work for the pedestrian improvements after July 4th. And then the paving won't be completed until next year, but we were able to award that and it's getting underway soon. Let's see, I think storm repair related for the MPO, it's we're kind of out of the temporary repair business and now we're just working through designs for permanent replacements for bridges. But a lot of that is still ongoing as well. We did have our public information session for the connector a couple of weeks ago. We had pretty good turnout for that. I think public comment period is closing today for, I do believe, Tristan, that you've asked Nathan to come back, perhaps at the June meeting for a larger update than that. But stay tuned for more information about how the BD section of the connector is advancing. And then I wanted to just note on here, we've got I-4700 as completion date June of 26. With the addition of the interchange project to the 4700 contract, we're looking now at January 2027 for completion. So they'll likely be changing that in the coming weeks. So hopefully our report for the next meeting will reflect that new substantially complete date. But just want to give you a heads up on that. I think that's it for construction, unless there's any questions. The project development report is, again, just that same comparison of the current STIP to the draft STIP. And you can see kind of a summary of the comparison of the two. And that's really the same thing we provided last time. So nothing really new to point out there. And I think that's it.
Great. Hannah, well, thank you for the update. One thing, I mean, as probably more for Nathan, but I'll loop you in. I think something that would be helpful would be a full accounting of changes made to the I-26 connector between the final environmental impact statement and what's being proposed now. I think there's a lot of changes. I think some of them have been focused on quite a bit, and there's a number of other changes that I think are getting a little bit lost, that I think especially local government staff and our elected officials should be aware of. So if that's something that the division could compile, I think that would be really helpful.
Okay, I'll pass that along.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. Are there any questions online? Okay, Steve.
All right. Hey, everybody. Construction updates, Division 14. It's the same projects you've been seeing for a while. If you're traveling on I-40 in Wood County, be really careful. There's, I think there's 5 bridges that are under construction in the Canton area, and then the bridges out towards or just past Jonathan Creek. And then, of course, I-40 in Pigeon River Gorge is two lanes, 1 lane in each direction for a few years. Russ Avenue project is progressing well there in Waynesville. The I-26 project in Henderson County is for the most part complete. All lanes are open in both directions. There might be still some lane closures as they're finishing up projects, but those will be, they'll come out in press releases, and RPO and MPO have been doing a great job of getting those press releases out. We appreciate that. Henderson County, again, the same project you've been seeing for a while. Green River Bridge is still in the same configurations it's been in for the past few months. And other than a few bridges that have started, it's the same project that you've been seeing for a while. Project development, kind of the same thing that Hannah said. It's the same project. Since we haven't been able to add anything into the STIP. Have added a few bridges in Henderson County that I didn't have access to before as far as that information. So take a look at those, and if you have any questions, please let us know. And that's it for me.
Thanks, Steve. Ada, I do have a question about I-40 bridge work. I remember the mayor of Canton was really adamant about not having day closures, and we've had a lot of day closures in Haywood County. So I was wondering what's going on with that.
Yeah, so that sentiment was certainly expressed, but as far as the traffic management plans, I haven't seen those in the construction plans. So, I don't know if that was relayed to the contractor or not. I can check into that and get back with you soon.
Okay, thank you. And I had, someone had asked me about Hot Shoals Road, which is in Henderson County near the Green River, that there's a business who uses that area to access the river, and there's a closure, and they were getting, whoever the contractor is was saying that they couldn't get in there. So I don't know if you can follow up on that and see if it's unsafe for them to be there, or if it's something maybe they could let that business owner have access.
What's the name of that road again, Jalen?
Hot Shoals Road in Green River.
Hey, Jana, this is Troy. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the contractor is currently in there working. We have a large project. That roadway is closed. It's very dangerous to be in there while we're got the road dug up and repairing these slopes and fields as part of that Helene damage. So there may be opportunity for folks to get in there, but do not expect it every day. It is an active construction project, so we really don't want people in there trying to park in the way and having access, because we're working in and along the river through there. So, that is a clearly dangerous situation to have people in an active work zone.
Okay, I will relay that information. Thanks, Troy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Troy.
Cody Waddell wanted to comment on the bridge closures.
Yeah, good afternoon. Steve, I'll interject on the I-40 daytime closures that we've experienced. The project plans are limited to only night operations and closures, or night closures. But the daytime closures were unanticipated. They're more of an emergency repair situation where the existing decks, i.e. we're replacing them. That's why we're out here. But we've experienced some blowouts that needed immediate repairs, and the closures were for those purposes, to essentially get concrete in place. So we're kind of having to rehab the bridges a little bit while we're going to keep traffic in two lanes. And so hopefully that explains a little bit of what, not ideal, but what's come up, and that's what's occurring out there.
Thank you for that, Cody.
Okay, transportation planning grant.
No comments from me today.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. All right, subcommittee.
Subcommittees continue to be active. So the prioritization subcommittee continues to oversee the MTP, and we're getting ready to talk more about prioritization, which we'll give a quick update on in a minute. The 5307 work group continues to be active as well, and we had a Hellbender Regional Trail meeting last month. Besides that, something you'll notice is we did remove FHWA and FTA updates from the agenda. It's my understanding that as of right now, there are two people in the planning division at the North Carolina office for FHWA. That is up from one, I think last month. One person was brought back, George Hoops. I've been made aware that their attendance is very unlikely in meetings for the foreseeable future. Also on the federal front, a few things. The reauthorization of the federal transportation bill is getting underway. And so the current transportation law that expires next year. And so work is beginning on drafting the next transportation bill. The MPO did submit comments to the House Transportation and Infrastructure Subcommittee. Some of the things that we noted would be helpful would be the consolidation of competitive grants. The number of competitive grants that are out there, I think, make it nearly impossible for most of our local governments to be able to pursue, as well as the requirements as part of the grant application process. And we also noted the importance of funding for resilience and resilience planning, especially for our region, as well as transit and rail. Some of the things that we've been updated on from the Association of MPOs is that some of the things being discussed are the consolidation of some of those competitive grants, also looking into funding cuts, especially in the transit and rail realms. Something I've mentioned to a few folks is that funding rescissions have also garnered a bit of discussion. So that is the process where the federal government looks at funds that are out there that are not being obligated and essentially retracting those funds. Unused funds, I think is the way that it's often put. But that would have to be a change in federal legislation. Also, USDOT is working on reducing their workforce. Planning division of North Carolina's office going from 8 to 2. That seems to be in line with that. Hopefully that's enough of a reduction. There was a letter for executive action from USDOT to reinstate English proficiency for truck drivers. So just to note on that. Also, as far as I'm aware, there's not been an update on the review of competitive grants. So just as a reminder, USDOT said that they would be reviewing competitive grants that have been awarded since 2021 and flagging grants that have been awarded with anything involving DEI, green infrastructure, or bicycle infrastructure, amongst other things. And so they are going through, I believe, what was proposed to be a 90-day review to look at the grants where funds have not been obligated or only partially obligated, and potentially looking at either changes to scopes within those projects or rescinding the projects completely. We will see how that moves forward, especially for a couple of projects in our region. Besides that, in terms of prioritization, I'll give a brief update on what is being proposed, just so that folks are aware. Just as a very brief reminder, prioritization is the step in the transportation planning process between our long-range plans and determining what actually gets funded. This covers the majority of funding, not all the funding, for transportation projects. But when you think about especially the large highway projects that we spend a lot of time talking about, this is the process where almost all of those have been funded. But there's other eligibilities as well. So in the process, highway projects receive a minimum of 90% of the funding. Non-highway projects receive a minimum of 6% and non-highway includes aviation, bike ped, ferry, rail, and transit. The remaining 4% is an open competition. Just as a reminder, no state funds are allowed to be used on standalone bike ped projects, and there's a number of funding limits on light or commuter rail projects, regional transit, aviation projects, and there's also a corridor cap for highway corridors not to exceed a total sum of $1 billion over 10 years. This round of prioritization, P8, the current schedule that may be changed before fully adopted has a number of items coming up soon. So project submittals would be due in September. Statewide mobility projects would be programmed in May of next year. Regional impact points would be due in August of 26, and division needs points would be due in December of 26, with the draft STIP expected to be released in February or March of 27. Some changes that are being discussed at the work group include changing how roadway modernization projects are being scored. Those projects, for the most part, across the entire state, scored very poorly last round. So some of the changes being looked at to help boost scores would be no longer considering pavement condition as part of the project evaluation, less emphasis on lane and shoulder width, more emphasis on safety, and a slight emphasis on congestion for these projects. Bike ped scoring is changing the points of interest. The big thing there would be changing what employers would be eligible from employers with greater than 50 employees to employers with greater than 5 employees. The thinking there being a lot of the walkable points of interest tend to be small businesses. And leaving those out would have a negative impact, and I think not reflect a lot of the generators of walking and biking trips or potential trips. And also automating the points of interest. I only partially joke that submitting bike ped projects from a staff perspective is a punishment. It is. It's a ton of work. And so automating those points of interest rather than finding every business, every church, everything that can possibly be a point of interest. Praise the Lord. And creating a spreadsheet that probably agrees with the formatting. Also, ferry scoring is changing. I don't have details on that. I'm sure it's great. It's great. That's the summary. I think the bigger change, I think that we should all keep in mind is what's planning to happen with express designs. For those of you who aren't aware, express designs are kind of exactly what they sound like. They are very quick designs that are put together to get a better idea of project feasibility, scope, and cost. And in general, their cost estimates have been found to be more accurate than the automated cost estimates. And so the current process with express designs is you submit projects. Some of your projects might get funded in the STIP, and then there's an express design done. The problem with that is you are basically committing projects to your budget, and then you're finding out how much they really cost. Not ideal. So what's being proposed is requiring that every project, before it's submitted into prioritization, have an express design completed or underway, with some exceptions. That requirement is being expected for P9. So we have some time to get express designs done. But that is a big change. That basically means that before we are considering what's getting submitted, we have to have work done ahead of time. And to me, this came up in discussion at the work group. A lot of people said, well, I like submitting projects so I can find out what those projects can be. I think those days are over. That, to me, has been a big part of NCDOT's financial challenges. We need to know what these projects are, and we need to have those conversations about what our communities want from potential DOT investments before they are fully funded and in the STIP.
Just one comment. The express design doesn't be a requirement as a minimum. If the project has already had some sort of design work done that equals or surpasses express design, which there are a lot in our region, those will still be eligible for STIP.
Right. And
Just to caveat that with the things that have been defunded and things like that.
right. So yeah, anything with design work. We've also requested that it not just be a DOT only process. And so potentially local governments or the MPO can fund express designs that we could generate and essentially meet the requirements that DOT expects, so that we can have additional express designs and lead them if that is what folks choose to do. I don't think we have a firm number, but DOT is looking at kind of an allotment of express designs by planning organization as well as division. I think I've seen a few numbers between like 6 and 12 for our MPO.
I think the RPO had 6, and I think the MPO had 10 or 12.
Yeah, there's been math is usually where the work group argues the most.
Yeah.
But we will have a set number that we can say, here are the priority projects that we want express designs to be done on. And we've also noted that we expect more coordination both with the MPO and local governments as part of these express designs. There's a number that are out there that, we either see at the very end or we haven't seen. And we've even had to go through the process of, I think, throwing out 1 or 2 at the end, which is not the most efficient use of resources.
I mentioned at the RPO meeting that the RPO staff with local governments will be requesting meetings with our DOT division folks to look at the express designs that we have out there, confirm they're what we want, and find the gaps in our priorities so we can start getting those things submitted for express designs for P9. So that's one more level of coordination that has to happen.
And to note, we've also advocated that it not just be MPO and local governments, but I know I've had at least one conversation with Hannah where it's been like, hey, like there's an express design going on, like we haven't been told about it, what's the deal? And I think Hannah's response was, well, there's this other express design that you're a part of that we didn't know about. It seems like the coordination needs to be improved, and I think that's something DOT is working on. Also, we are expecting a 30% reduction in submittals for P8. So we are anticipating 18 submittals versus 26 previously. And to note, that's 18 per mode. I'm leaving off ferry. I think I've been making it a ferry submittal joke for 10 years now. I'm letting that one go. So anyway, that is currently what's going on with prioritization. We have one more meeting.
One more technically.
One more technically. Yeah. So one more technically, and then the Board of Transportation is expected to adopt the changes. But that is the extent of the updates that we have today. Oh, and sorry, Daisy had a quick update on our Title VI plan.
So we were expecting to bring you an update to the Title VI plan this month for approval. However, with the number of executive orders that have impacted the underlying legal framework to Title VI, we have delayed that until we get further guidance from FHWA and NCDOT about what the plan should look like moving forward. As of yet, they've not had time to update their templates for us to be able to make sure that we would be in compliance with changes due to the executive orders.
And you guys will let us know for our trail systems too. Okay.
When we figure it out.
Great. Okay. Thank you guys. Any announcements, news, or topics for next meeting? Okay, hearing none, is there any more public comment? Hearing none, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.